I also tried to be everything for everybody. What would happen is when I said I was nervous, when I said I was scared, when I said I didn't have all the answers, people are like, nah, I get scared, but you're cool. I don't know what I'm doing. Fast forward 2 years into the business, I go to the ER twice thinking I'm about to have an aneurysm. I don't know what is about to happen. Am I having a stroke? What is this? When they do tests, MRIs, CAT scans, stress tests on my heart, everything is coming back, as you can imagine, negative. The only thing left was the fact that
Welcome to another episode of the Disciplined Man podcast, where we talk about discipline, mindset, and the profound impact they have on manhood. We know manhood doesn't look the same for everyone, and real strength lies in authenticity and personal truth. So join us for another enriching conversation about how real men think, how we feel, and how we navigate the complexities of modern masculinity. Now, we have a special treat for you today because the guest that's sitting across from me just happens to have some experience behind the camera. He's been the man on the street, a lifestyle correspondent, as you can tell by the way he's dressed if you're watching this on video. And he is an HBCU graduate from North Carolina A&T, also owner-operator of Chick-fil-A right here in California, which is highly sought after because we know Chick-fil-A is not everywhere here, unfortunately. But the reality is, from owner-operator, just entrepreneur to TV host, he has many accolades, which I will be naming for the rest of this episode if I keep going. So let me introduce you to Mr. Craig Stokes. Craig, welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I feel like you're trying to show me up. You got the nice suit on, looking good. You're looking amazing, man.
You've been doing your thing, the man on the street, right? So you know what it looks like. I know you've been in situations where you've had to help people with their outfit.
Absolutely.
So I'm just trying to make sure I don't get shown up on my own platform.
No, you look amazing, man. And I've had a long history with clothes, man. Just like I remember when my mom would bring bags of clothes home from social services, and we would have to dig through it, and that's how we would go shopping. And then I would have to go to Payless, and I'm thinking I'm fresh. I'm wearing these nice leather shoes, but they say XJ 2000s, and no one's ever heard of the brand name before. I'm getting laughed at school, but I'm so proud of the fact that they're all white, they're clean, they're all leather. You know what I'm saying? And so I have a love for clothes, but I always appreciate where I started, man.
Man, I'm gonna tell you a story that I've never told anybody before. Okay. I don't even think my family knows this story, but I'm gonna put myself on Front Street right now.
Okay.
I remember, so growing up, I have a family of 15, so I have 14 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And there's this night where I'm out with my dad, and I don't even know if he remembers this story, but I'm out with my dad, and I'm like noticing all the kids who are buying Air Force Ones. And for me, I was like super cheap. Even though I used to babysit my sister's kids, I was super cheap. And so like I would try to cut corners when it comes to like buying stuff sometimes. Yeah. And I remember, and I hate to say it, and I don't know why I'm telling it, but I'm gonna tell it anyway.
Let's go.
I was out with my dad. We stopped at this gas station, and obviously all these kids are buying Air Force Ones. And they have some shoes that are very similar. So I'm like, can I get away with these? But it just says Air on the side.
Okay. All right. So I know where this is going.
For $25, I'm like, man, I'm going to take the chance.
Yeah.
I remember I walked in school that day. I was like, nah, bro, you made the wrong choice.
What was so off? So, was the check?
No, there was no check. There was no check at all. It just said Air.
Okay, got
so
it.
It could have been Air Jordan. It could have been Air for Nike. It could have been Air. Nobody ever knew. Air Squared. It could have been anything.
You gotta pay extra for the Jordan.
Yeah, you gotta pay extra for the Jordan. So the way I did it was I bought these pants because, again, myself, I'm thinking, how can I make this least inexpensive for me as possible? So I bought some pants that I knew were too big for me, so they would cover up the Air sign. Because the front of them still look like Air Force One.
You up right now. I see the creativity coming.
But I was just trying to be creative, so I was trying to make it work. But I say all of that to say, I feel you.
Man, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. See, but look at us right now, though.
We killing that. Let's big ourselves up. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that enough. You look good, brother. I appreciate the compliment you gave me earlier. All right, we got it out the way.
I appreciate it, but because we'll spend the rest of this episode complimenting each other, so I'm gonna stop. But on a serious note, one of the things from your background, you're owner-operator of Chick-fil-A, which is one of the most difficult things to do.
Right.
And it's also one of the most admirable things to do because of the journey that you had to take to get there. Yeah. But before even getting there,
okay,
you switched chicken. You switched chicken. You went from KFC to Chick-fil-A, man. Yeah. What made you switch sides?
Sheesh, man. You know what's so crazy about that? When I came in, and that's typically most people's first job is like a fast food or something like that, right? By the time I walked into the door for my KFC interview, I had already had a newspaper route. I had started cutting hair. And yours truly, we're talking about clothes and outfits. From age 13 to 16, I used to wear red spandex. I dressed up as a red Power Ranger for my parents' children's birthday party business.
That's crazy.
So yeah, man, like I'm literally doodling and drawing the ad for the phone book. So that takes you back to how far, how far back this was.
Oh, just 2 years ago.
2 years ago last year, you know what I'm saying? The big book we still, all right, never mind. So then so I drew the ad for that, and people would hire me at age 13 for their 8-year-old son's or daughter's birthday. Wow. And I'm showing up in the red spandex, the toy gun, the white leather shoes again. I think there's a theme here.
Yep.
And I'm striking my superhero pose, and I'm having to realize at that moment, Craig, you're being entrusted with somebody's once-in-a-lifetime moment. They picked you. They could have done anything else in the world, and they said they want this character to bring joy and happiness to their child, and you're a child yourself. So how do you realize and step back out of what I would normally do and what I wanted to be doing at that moment and give my very best to somebody else? And so by walking into KFC at age 16, that wasn't my first rodeo.
Yep.
Hi, welcome to KFC. May I take your order? Oh, the food's not ready? Go ahead and grab a seat. I'll bring it out to you. Normal.
Yep.
But what I didn't realize is it wasn't normal for people to get great experience in customer service, and I would get tips. At age 16, here's $5. It was been a pleasure being served by you. Here's a free pizza. I work at Domino's. Here's a free pizza. And I'm like, what am I doing that's so different?
Yep.
And what I realized from then to even now, what I'm doing now is people want to be seen. You're going to change careers. You're going to change titles. You might be known just as Tillman, then you might be known as Mr., then Doctor, and then Dad, and all these things. But at the end of the day, at the core, you're still who you are.
Right.
You're still the kid who wanted to look fresh, but didn't want to spend a lot on the shoes, but also didn't want to get laughed at.
Yep.
Right. You wanted to fit in and blend in, but also stand out at the same time. It's like, how do I recognize and see that moment in that person and what that feels like and how that person feels because they are seen will carry them the rest of their life. And so now, as one person at KFC to now having 80 employees at my restaurant, that's all I'm doing. That's probably my superpower.
Yep.
Like I could get better at operations and all these things, but seeing people and appreciating them for the moment that I have that I'm sharing with them that will never happen again, that's the magic.
That's amazing. And one of the things you talked about in another interview, and I'll get back to something you just said a moment ago, but one of the things you talked about in another interview, you talked about when you do certain things at Chick-fil-A, there's this inverted triangle, and you sort of fire yourself from certain positions.
For sure.
Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. A lot of times people say, I want to move up.
Yeah.
Who hasn't heard that? I want to move up. What happens typically when you move up is you see people cross their arms and say, I don't do that anymore.
Right.
I used to be down there, but I'm not down there anymore. You do those jobs, and I'll just tell you what to do, when to do it, and just let me know that you've done it, please. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I'll be in here sipping my water, my lemonade, whatever. And what I said is,
the lemonade is fire.
The lemonade is fire, right? And so, yeah, man. Like, if you can invert that pyramid, and you could say at the widest end are the most, popular position, which is your team member. That's where you start.
Yep.
They're the closest to the guest. They're the closest to giving that guest that great experience. If you want to be promoted, you're asking to move down, which means you're saying people are going to be sitting on your shoulders. You're strong. You have a strong back. You have the capacity to carry more weight, and you have the ability to remember that there's people above you that need your support.
Yep.
I'm way at the very bottom. It looks like a very small blip on the radar, but what I have at the bottom is this challenge of the stability. The base is now at the top. I have to keep this culture, the synergies of, the interest of the people on my team. I need to keep that intact. I need to make sure that there's systems and processes in places, because I'm here with you having a great conversation, but my store is still operating, it's still running. We're still serving a lot of great guests. How is that possible unless we have great systems, great culture, and they understand that our mission to give our team members and our guests a better day applies to everybody, regardless of your position. So the further you move down, the more people above you are counting on you to do your part, play your role, and to make sure that they have what they need to give the guest a better day. And so I really thought that that was something that would resonate more than just somebody moving up and feeling like they have less to do, less responsibility, less weight. I wanted you to feel the weight.
Yeah.
Actually, in one of my team leader orientation classes, what I tell them to do is we start off wearing a black shirt just like what you have on, right?
Hey man, I'm ready.
You know what I'm saying? You're
I'm
ready to
ready.
go. Day one, come on, welcome to the team. Then you get the red polo.
Yep.
And then you'll get a striped red and white shirt when you become a trainer. Then you get a striped blue and white shirt when you become a team leader. And what I do is I have them, I say, you want to be a team leader, right? Wear your black shirt. I want you to throw on that red shirt. On top of that, I want you to throw on that red and white striped shirt. On top of that, I want you to wear the blue and white striped shirt. And I'm like, how do you feel? Oh, shoot, I feel kind of tight. I feel kind of constricted. I feel like, a lot is going on right now. Well, that's the pressure that you need to remember, because you are always going to be a team member. You're always going to be a trainer. You're always going to remember what that first day felt like, because just because you're a team leader doesn't mean you get a chance to take off those other things.
Yep.
You just have the capacity to support those above you. And so that's kind of where that inverted pyramid comes from.
Man, I appreciate the breakdown, because that in itself, bringing it all together.
Yeah.
And you even talked a little bit about just the weight of doing all those things, and thinking back to when you make it 475 at KFC.
Ballin'.
Now you're responsible for doing something very similar for your employees.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through the importance of that to you and that responsibility?
Yeah, it's twofold. There's a challenge that I have, which says, yeah, I made 475. I did amazing and got all of those tips and things. And I say amazing only because I got tips. That's how I got the confirmation that I was doing a great job. So not just me walking through like, yeah, I'm a beast. But
hey man, but if you were.
I think I wasn't bad. Right? I think I wasn't too bad. But my raise from all of that was 10 cents. I went from 475 to 485, killing it. Like, I'm the man. You know what I'm saying?
Fly high.
I have no money. I have no room in these
No
pockets
lie.
for all this money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 475 to 485, there's a challenge with leaders to say, I did it, you can do it too.
Yep.
The generations are different though. Giving somebody a 10-cent raise now doesn't work.
Right.
25 cents, 50 cents. We literally just had a huge price increase from, or minimum wage increase from $16.78 an hour to $20. And so I have to remember where I came from, but also adjust and adapt to what's happening now and what the needs of my team is. The multicultural and multi-generational families that serve at my restaurant, who have themselves, their mothers, abuela at the house, grandma and grandpa, and they need to serve and support them. Their needs are different. Their passions, their desires, their goals in life are just a little bit different. They maybe don't have the luxuries that I had to get by on 475, right? And so I have to really keep in mind, how do I balance people versus profit? When I first opened my restaurant, we weren't very profitable. It took us about 5 months to get profit. And I had promised them that I was going to bring that Southern hospitality to Southern California. I told them this would be a home away from home. And just when the numbers weren't looking great, I'm like, here's my chance to put my mouth where my mouth was. I sold you on what this is going to feel like. I need to now come through. And I'm thankful that I chose that, because a lot of my team stayed with me for 2 years. I had almost 0% turnover. And it built a culture of care for my organization. And through that, COVID existed, it happened. And that was even another level of, how do I demonstrate that you matter? Like, I told you that you matter, but how do I demonstrate that? And through how I pay them, giving them opportunities for advancement, letting them know I see them and I check on them, and I tell my team and my leaders, do not tell me how the business is doing before you can tell me how the team is doing as a person. Do not come into the business talking about, why are all the screens red? Why is the drive-through backed up? I want you to go through, high five, dap everybody up, look them in the eye, and then assess the business afterwards. Our people come first, because without great people, how can they give the guest a great experience? If your cup is empty, how can you pour into a guest's cup?
Yep.
You have nothing to pour into it.
Yep.
And so how I pay them, the opportunities for advancement, and giving them just that sense that I see them, that's what I do.
Man, so you covered a lot just now, and there's a lot of different ways we can go with this conversation. But what I'm also thinking about is your journey, even from North Carolina A&T.
Oh man,
where they also named you in the Huffington Post one of the 7 people to watch.
Right.
How do you feel you're holding up to that?
I describe myself as good, not great. I feel like there's so much more potential, so many more things, so many more boxes to check. But I do feel good about the fact that I believe in myself and I believe that things are possible. Yep. I'm so optimistic. And that's really what allowed me to achieve a lot of the things that I've done, is through my faith in God and knowing that the team around me and the people around me, I can't take them for granted. Even if in the moment I don't know what this person could bring to the table or whatever, just treat people with kindness, and you never know who you're sitting across from or who you're rubbing elbows with, and just maintaining those relationships. It really got me far. But I feel like I am proud of myself for believing in myself and for being courageous enough to be myself. And I think I learned that lesson in 4th grade. This is a story I don't really tell very often, man, but in 4th grade, I had a best friend of mine who had reading glasses. And I was like, yo, bring me your spare pair of reading glasses so I could wear them too. And I could, be like you. I didn't say that last part, but that was my intention, was to be like him.
Yep.
We would draw pictures and I would look over and I would try to draw the same picture he did. We would do a beat on the desk. What beat did I do? Same beat.
Right? It's the grinding. You doing the grinding. You doing
grinding, right?
Yeah.
Right. I can't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout out to Push It. But anyway, one time we're standing around and a mutual friend walks up to us because in 4th grade we have mutual friends and all that. And she walks up. She says, "Man, Craig does everything you do." And I'm like, "Come on, get my back, best friend." You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Yeah, I know, right? I bet you if I jumped off a bridge, he would too." I'm standing right there. This is
wow.
We're all talking together. I'm not eavesdropping, overhearing it. I'm right there. And it was like the light bulb moment that happened where I'm like, I am doing those things, but why am I doing that? Why am I more comfortable trying to be like somebody else versus being me? And that was the turning point in I'm not going to go left just because people go right, but I am going to figure out, how do I carve my own lane in this moment? How do I have a little element of cool while also being classic? How can I be me? And so that has dictated everything I've done, which allows me to have kind of like a distinction like that, 1 of 7 or Mr. A&T or creating Style Minute on YouTube or even pursuing something like the road less traveled like Chick-fil-A. It's like, how do I do something that is maybe scary, outside of the box, no one else is maybe doing it? That has really led me to be ultimately who I am, is to embrace myself fully. So
I mean, you talking about Style Minute, man. We got style for however long we've been talking right now. Come on now.
Can't go wrong with blue, man.
That's a fire suit, man. I know I said we done with compliments, but that's just
I appreciate
that's a code.
It's fire and it's kind of hot too, you know what I'm saying?
Oh man. And so one of the things I always talk about is I think it's important to understand, one, to create challenge in your life, which I think you consistently do for some reason. Must be a crazy person.
I must be.
But in addition to that, I always say if everybody else is doing it, it's probably not the right thing for you to do. Because the reality, that just makes you blend in with the crowd. And that makes you like everybody else. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you're doing that may have put you in a unique space, but also it's a challenge that you've accepted for yourself?
Yeah, I'll take you back to A&T. So really, like, shout out if you're Aggie watching right now. Have you ever done an Aggie Pride? Has anybody ever shown you how to do it?
I have not.
I need you to be an honorary Aggie for me.
I'll do it, man. Come on.
So I'm gonna say Aggie Pride, and you got to do it just like that, okay?
Okay.
Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.
I think, my man, welcome to the family.
Hey, man, I appreciate
it. Feels good in your soul.
It does. I mean, I felt that right here.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to peek the mic, but you know what I'm saying?
I probably did. I'm just loud anyway from the South. I'm from Tennessee.
Oh, see, North Carolina. So yeah, when I was at A&T, man, I just wanted to figure out every year. I said, I'm gonna do something different every year to one up myself. So the first year I said, one, I'm gonna focus on my GPA because I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of other distractions throughout these years. So let me get the highest GPA now. As it declines, I'll still be above 3. So I did that. I checked that box. I got up on stage and did a poem in front of the whole school during one of the orientations, and I was just like, I'm nervous, but I'm gonna put myself out there, right? My sophomore year, I ran and I won Mr. A&T. So I'm the male representative of the campus as a sophomore. Something I was never on the horizon, but I saw it as an opportunity to do it. And then my junior year, my best friend got killed. We were both 20 years old. And I said, well, we have these Aggie clubs. So you're from Tennessee, so you would have like a Tennessee Aggie club, or down south Aggie club, Florida, Georgia, New York, Midwest, California. And we had one for my city. Shout out to the 2-6. If you heard of J. Cole, I think you might have heard of J. Cole.
Maybe from the Ville or something.
Fayetteville, North Carolina, you know what I mean? So it's just, he's an up and coming rapper. And so we had the Fayetteville Aggie Club. Instead of the Fayetteville Aggie Club, I wanted it to be called the Fayetteville Aggies on the Move. And so I recreated it and renamed it and called it the FAM. And so I created a scholarship in my friend Charles's honor. We did the first ever campus-wide cleanup. We got all the fraternities, sororities, gospel choir, SGA involved, and we cleaned up the campus. We did a Lunch Buddies program. And so what I was doing was, I see this exists, but how can I elevate it? And that's the whole point. So it's not a pat on my back. It's really just a saying, like, I see this lane, but how do I carve something slightly different from myself that feels original, feels special, feels meaningful, that 20 years later I can still be excited and proud about it? And then I joined the radio station. So my friend Terrence Jenkins, that used to be, I mean, TJ. So
You're talking about a lot of these people that people have no idea who they are.
I know. I gotta, we'll do some kind of footnote or something with a link to the IG. But so Terrence, he was on the radio, and I said, hey man, how do I do college radio? And he made the connection and got me on the college radio station. So that was my first like entertainment thing on campus. And so every year I was just doing one thing after another, and until where I even launched a clothing line on campus as well called Cool Classics, which is a reference that I mentioned before. How can I be cool but also classic at the same time? And so through all of that, A&T gave me the foundation to be myself, to see how many, just because I'm a black male doesn't mean that I represent all black males. My man in DC has a different style, a different way of speaking. My guys in Tennessee and Florida, New York, and I was just like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, we have a lot to offer, and we're all so different, and it's just amazing to see us all in one platform. And so from there, I just took that to college, to grad school, to the military, continuing with entrepreneurship, and then even the entertainment. That was like the launching pad for my entertainment career. So it checked a lot of the boxes, allows me to have some distinctions that you just mentioned, but it didn't start with me. It started with places like that nurtured it.
And I said at the top of the show, like, there's a lot of accolades that I haven't mentioned that you just covered here a second ago. But before we dive into that piece, one of the things you just mentioned is that you lost a friend while you were in college. To what extent do you feel like that has driven the work that you do today?
It drives me from the key fact that we just don't know when that time is going to come. Have I done something that will withstand the test of time? Or am I just putting things on my mantle for my own edification and glory, and I'm looking back like, yeah, I'm pretty cool? Because that's not stuff I can take with me.
Right.
And that's not anything that anybody cares about, and that's not even things that I'll be eulogized for. What I'll be remembered for is how I made people feel and the impact that I had. And so losing my man Charles, he will never have gotten married, had kids, and his story only exists because I'm bringing it up in this conversation, right? And so the question is, what will I do and what have I done? That's why I told you I'm good, not great. I haven't done enough that when I close my eyes that somebody can just open up a book that I've written, watch a movie that I've done, replay a speech that I've given that, again, isn't about me bragging about myself, but it gives somebody immediately and then a future generation some kind of inspiration, some hope, some courage to be themselves. And so to answer your question more succinctly, without that experience, which was so hard because I was looking for him for 2 years. I would go to Fayetteville, look for him. Hey, Charles, I heard Charles was over there at the Walmart. I'll go to Walmart and try to find him. Couldn't find him. And then I got that call that night that, hey, he got shot and got killed. I was like, my first thought was, I guess I'll see him now because I'll see him at the funeral. But two is, he'll never get a chance to do some of these things. So I need to kind of do some things for him and to show him what's possible, and then keep his name alive.
Well, you're showing a lot of people what's possible. You're
appreciate it, man.
Actor, producer, CEO, former military, man. What is it that you don't do is the question.
I haven't built that school in Africa yet. I haven't built that school, man. I got to get over there, man. And I think also I don't want to be one hit wonder. So if I've done it once, I want to do it again for my own just like hey, I learned lessons. I bumped my head. Now I want to take it and try to, execute it at another level. And so whether it's business, whether it's being a dad, like how do I have a 14-year-old daughter, but I have a 6-year-old son. So it's like what I didn't get right with her, or what I'm still working through and learning, how can I apply that much earlier for him?
Mm-hmm.
Just all the things, man, all the things. So
he's getting the benefit of being the younger sibling.
Yeah, man. Cool Cam. Cool. I can't say Killer Cam. I'll call him Cool Cam.
Cool. I like it.
So yeah, I there's so much I haven't done. So much that, yeah. I pray that I have the time to achieve it. But my focus now is on the legacy building things, and things that, again, because I don't know that I'll be 80 and 90, I want to make sure that I attack them now and not think that time is just going to always be on my side.
Right. And speaking of legacy, I also know that your daughter is an actress.
Yes. Yep.
And you talked about that journey and how you're trying to support her. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
What up, London? So she just demonstrated from a young age that she had the capacity to look people in the eyes, to make them feel something. And I said, wow, she's going to be something. I don't know what this is. She was 1, 2 years old, and I was like, the feeling that she would give people. I don't want to babysit nobody else's kids, but Craig, I'll babysit London. And I was like, okay, interesting. For her 3rd birthday, we had her record a video invitation to welcome people to her birthday party, and she was remembering the script that I was giving her, the lines that I told her to say, and she had the inflection and the personality and the eye contact, and I said, okay,
she might be able to do something.
Might be able to do something. You know what I'm saying? So I tapped into my creativity a little bit, and we created a show called London in America.
Okay.
And the first video was her giving away her birthday to raise money for kids who didn't have clean drinking water.
Wow.
We partnered with a campaign called Charity Water, and she raised $2,700, was able to create several different wells. And I'm trying to remember the place now. I don't want to say it incorrectly, but overseas in a developing country. And that was her first video. The second video was her telling everybody the success of the campaign. And the third video was her first London in America episode, talking about dad when you cough, dad when you sneeze, keep those germs from you and me. The precursor to COVID, how to wash your hands, how to when dad was a big thing, how to cough and sneeze into your elbow. And from there, she got onto national commercials. We did a Clorox commercial together. That was our first audition together, and we got booked for that.
Love it.
So we did that. We did some stuff with Facebook. She went off and did some other things herself, and she did a speech at 6 years old in front of 600 kids and parents. It was just me being able to not push myself on her, but see what she had at a young age and try to nurture it.
Yeah.
I really genuinely, this is something you didn't ask, but I really want to take what my parents gave me and elevate that, which is show my kids how to be their friend, and how to believe in themselves, and also to know that I see them. Because a lot of parents, I got this from Will Smith, he said, I'm more of a gardener, flower type parent, right? I am not going to tell you, if you're an apple seed, that you need to be an orange tree. I'm going to see that you're an apple tree, and I'm going to prune and I'm going to trim and help you be the best you can be. But I have to first recognize what your seed is.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times parents try to force their children to be something that they're never designed to be, and they get frustrated with it. And what I wanted to do and to demonstrate with London and now Cam is, I see you. I believe in you. I'm going to encourage that. I'm going to help nurture that and be there when you kind of maybe don't believe in yourself, which she kind of went through middle school. But now that she's in high school, we just took her headshots again to re-kickstart her acting career. And I think the future is bright, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
How much influence does the reporter the lifestyle correspondent you have on what you feel like she's doing right now?
She can see me. She can see that I'm not just talking about it, but I've done it, and I think she sees that and she's like, well, okay, my dad can do it. I can do it. I can see it. I can believe it. And so when my dad says that looks good or that works, I can trust his judgment. And I think that's the gift of having that on video and being able to see what I've done.
For sure.
Yeah.
And speaking of all the things you've done, which I know we've covered quite a few things thus far,
Yeah.
I also have a military background.
Yep.
How much does that influenced what you do right now? Because I know there's a level of discipline that comes with being in the military, whether you're active duty or reserves. And the reason I know all this, my sister's a command sergeant major.
What's up? Okay.
You know what I mean? So
that's a big deal, man.
She's been in it for a while.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, my sister's abs look better than mine. Every time I post a shirtless pic, she got something. She like,
that's all you got.
Bro, I got a 20 pack. So calm down.
Command sergeant major, that's a big deal.
Yeah. She's doing her thing, man. But I say that to say it requires a lot of discipline, and I think all of that bleeds into a lot of the areas of what you're doing right now as far as your work goes. But I want you to say, kind of how you feel about that, rather.
It gives me exposure to what systems exist, chain of command.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the processes that you need to follow. It gives me an awareness that this military existed before I was born.
Yep.
It's going to exist well after I'm gone. I'm playing my role for the moment that I'm here. It also showed me, though, not just because of military, but not a lot of leaders know how to be leaders. A lot of leaders act like what they think a leader's supposed to act like. They forget who they are.
Yep.
They get caught up in titles and the roles. Your sister wasn't always a command sergeant major. She was a private. She was a corporal. She was a sergeant. And she grew through the ranks, right? And so I think for her, because I can imagine she's an amazing leader, is that she never forgot where she came from. She recognizes the role she's in.
Yep.
She understands there's expectations that come from that, but she also realizes that's just a title. That doesn't necessarily have to be who she is, because at some point she'll take off the uniform and she'll just be your sister, and she'll be living life and all of those things. And so it reminded me more so of that, to remember that ranks will come and go, but people will always remember how you treat them.
Yep.
Now that I've moved on from different units I've commanded and led in, people are like, the people I led are like, I wish you could come back. We need something. We need the way you made us feel. We need that again here. I can't just pop back. I can't just be there for them in that way, but it tells me that I took the right approach.
For sure.
So
for sure. What's interesting is I feel like my sister has been the command sergeant major of my family for a long time. She is that, because she is my oldest sister.
Oh, got it.
She's the first of 15, and she's kind of been the glue to keep
the 15 is
oh man,
that's a lot, man.
When I tell you I got beat up a lot, so my little brother is probably one of the craziest of all of us, because he got it from all of us.
So you're the baby?
No.
Okay.
I'm the middle.
Okay.
I'm like smack dab in the middle. Okay. So had five older brothers and 2 older sisters. Man. 5 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. So I'm like smack dab in the middle. So what I said is I'm gonna start doing push-ups, because for my 12th birthday, I'm sick of y'all picking on me.
Yes, it's getting on.
I'm sick of y'all beating me up. I can't take it anymore. So since then, I've done push-ups every single day.
That's why the jacket.
Yeah, that's why my jacket's about to pop right now.
Got you. So they work. So just so you know, push-ups work. Okay.
They do, and I probably need to do some more right now, as a matter of fact. But all jokes aside, Craig, you as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of information that you have that can serve other people in so many different ways. Because one, you just spoke to it. You have 80 employees. Yeah. You've had a journey from KFC to Chick-fil-A, and then the difficulty of actually opening a franchise. Yeah. Why don't you share a little bit about opening a franchise and the difficulty of actually being one of 7,000 who actually get selected to do something like that?
Yeah, that year we had 70 or 80,000 people apply. This is the stats.
70,000, not 7,000. 70,000.
Yeah, and they selected 110. So that's like 0.15% acceptance rate, which is worse, or I guess lower than the CIA and Harvard and all of those things, which it more so is like, man, was I really that much better than the others, or was this just what I was meant to do during this time, right? And have you ever heard of the concept of trying to build a plane while you're flying it?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it felt like. I had never ran a restaurant before. My last time being in a restaurant was at 16, and now I'm 38, opening up really the #1 quick service restaurant franchise in the world, in terms of customer service value, the lines wrapped around the buildings, the revenue per store. It's just a big deal. And I started off with 120 team members. Wow. So I'm interviewing and hiring 120 people to join an organization that I've never run before, that I've never led, and a business that I never ever worked at. I was never a Chick-fil-A team member. And as soon as I turn the light switch on and the sign lights up, we're going to get a line and we're going to be in business, and customers are going to show up expecting the same experience they've gotten at other restaurants. And so it was challenging. It's challenging because we're moving from North Carolina. We open it up. 2 months later, COVID hits. Sales aren't exactly where we thought they would be. So I don't really need 120 people, but I have them here and they're so excited. And I'm like, how do I manage all of those things? What I will say is that I had a great team around me, but I also tried to be everything for everybody. I'm a cool guy. What I mean by that is I get along well with people. People say he's a cool guy. And what would happen is when I said I was nervous, when I said I was scared, when I said I didn't have all the answers, people are like, I get scared, but you're cool. You can't, and I stopped being given the permission or giving myself the permission to be anything other than cool.
Yep.
Cool with the way I handle problems, cool with the way I celebrated success. I just kind of cool, right? Fast forward 2 years into the business and I have what I think is a life-ending type reaction, and my lips are numb, my fingers are tingling. I'm feeling like I gotta put cold water on me, and my heart is racing. I go to the ER twice, thinking I'm about to have an aneurysm. I don't know what is about to happen. Am I having a stroke? What is this? I'm barely able to walk. My wife, I got my arm around her shoulder as I'm walking into the emergency room. Man, they do tests, MRIs, CAT scans, stress tests on my heart. Everything is coming back, as you can imagine, negative. The only thing left was the fact that I had no outlet, wasn't talking to anybody. I had stopped running and exercising.
Wow.
I had stopped admitting when I didn't have all the answers. And I was experiencing my first panic attack. And so I'm at the height of what apparently is, hey, this is a dream come true. I'm trying to be everything for everybody. And I'm forgetting the very thing that I had done up until that point, which is be me, which is to be honest, which is to be transparent, which is to say, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yep.
And so that was the biggest lesson that I learned, was that it's okay not to be okay. And even for somebody who, like me, who would never use the words, I'm stressed out, man, I really need it. I never really said that. I never even subscribed to those words. And now I'm okay saying, I ain't got it all together. And because I don't have it all together, guess what I need to do? Go back to being transparent and talk to people and share the story, because guess what? Somebody else might say, me too.
Facts.
Me too, buddy.
Facts.
I know exactly what that feels like. And guess what? Now as a leader who, hey, you can make however many hundreds of $1,000s a year. You can have multiple millions coming into your business, but your team members just want to know that you see them. And the way that I showed them that I see them is by being honest and transparent, saying these are what things that I went through, so that they can also say me too. And if Craig can still do these things, I want to follow this guy. I want to be a part of this organization. And so running a Chick-fil-A is no different than anything else. You got to be okay first. I can't pour into anybody else's cup, and if I'm not okay, nor can my team pour into a guest cup if they're not okay. And so at all levels of the organization, I'm just trying to design a way for people to remember that they're imperfect, that they're human, that they have the cares and the pressures of the world coming into the business, but that we are all a safe space that we could be okay not being okay.
Yeah, man, I think that's specifically for men. I feel like, at least because, the podcast is the Discipline Man.
Yeah.
That's a conversation that's difficult for us to have. And
Absolutely.
a conversation, fortunately, we've had the ability to have on this podcast a few different times thus far.
Oh, that's good.
Even more recently, I was just talking about how when I had my first panic attack, when I honestly didn't know what it was when it was happening.
Yeah.
But then I remember just telling myself just to breathe. And it was because of an experience where I'm losing my brothers. I had a brother get locked up, and then I lost two brothers. So 2 brothers in 7 months. So this is all happening rapidly. Okay. I lose an uncle, lose a brother. I lose a brother, lose an aunt, lose an uncle, then lose another brother. And this is all in the span of like 8 months. So I'm like, I don't know how I'm possibly going to handle all of this.
Right.
And so on the back end of all of that, and obviously there's some more stuff that happened in between that time, what I realized is I was telling myself the same thing that you were saying. I need to hold all of this in. Nobody gets to see this version of me. Nobody gets to see me hurt. Nobody gets to see me in pain. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm suffocating.
Yep.
And I'm suffering as a result of me not having the conversations, as a result of not giving myself the space to release and experience those emotions and understand what they were. Because I didn't have a therapist and I didn't have somebody where I was willing to share everything with, in the sense of, okay, well, I'm going to get 90% there, but then there's this other 10% I'm going to just keep in the back of my mind
file
where
that away.
I'm going to just file it away because I need to carry that by myself. That's not the reality. And so what I realized is, when I had that panic attack, I need to be more transparent. I need to be more vulnerable. And that is what I feel like is saved me, because I had to figure out how to create those spaces, not only for myself, but for other people. And that's really how all of this came about, in full transparency. So
I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate that.
No, I mean, and I'm proud of us in the way that we're having a conversation that we know at least one person that's watching this. At home, in the car, wherever they are, they're saying, me too. I feel seen, I feel heard. What would you say is one of the things you said you were breathing through the panic attack? What is something else that's maybe helped you get through that experience?
I would say I meditate every day. And I think about what I'm grateful for, because also being able to acknowledge it, being able to acknowledge it and point a finger to say, this is what this is, and you have to deal with it. Because nothing happens unless you decide to take action. You could sit in there, you could be depressed, you could be anxious, all of that, which again are all experiences.
They're normal.
Because the reality is, I forget the exact stat, and I don't want to misquote it, but I want to say somewhere in the area of 51% of people at some point in their lives will deal with some sort of mental health crisis.
51%. Wow.
51%. And it's up to you to show up for yourself in that moment. And what I don't want people to forget is that you think about therapy as this taboo topic, but the reality is, therapy is not just for you. It's for you and everybody else whose lives you might touch, whose lives that you're involved with. And if you don't do therapy, then somebody else may end up hurt because of the problems that you have refused to deal with. So for me, it's therapy, breathing, meditation, which all are kind of connected in that sense. But it's also knowing in those moments there's some type of action that I need to take to deal with what I'm dealing with. And on the back end of understanding what I'm dealing with, there's more for me to do. Because I think a lot of times we get in these positions where we can look at the world as woe is me, but we can't get into that mentality. Because the moment we get in that mentality, the world is still moving forward, whether you like it or not. So you have to decide what you're going to do for you and the people that you love, because there's a lot of people counting on you to show up as your best self. But also be willing to have those conversations with them when it's necessary. And even if it's not with them, have the conversations with somebody so you all can move forward together.
And it doesn't make us the expert. We're the expert in our own experiences. This is something that was real to you. You could speak from an intelligent, authentic place because it's your experience. And the goal is just that you could spark dialogue and conversation, because it's like I asked you, how did you get through it? Because it's one thing to say I went through it, but how did you do it is really where the magic is, because then you can help somebody else do it. You can remind yourself what you got to do. But that breathing part is so critical.
It is.
It's really critical. But again, that's something that I would say is the difference between being good and not great.
I was going to ask you that, so you beat me to the point.
So yeah, that's the key, man. I think it's just saying, I know where I am. I'm honest, taking an honest inventory, honest assessment. I'm very much aware of where I am and where I'm not. I know how far away I've come. I'm not at this wall, but I'm also not at the other side of the room. I can get there. I'm not there, but I know that it's going to take full transparency in terms of how I communicate, who I communicate, choosing having discernment about who I share it with. That's important. Because you could easily say, hey, I need help, and somebody like, man, get out of here, right? Somebody could say, I'm going through a panic attack, stop being soft. You could, so you have to have discernment about who you. Man,
I'm gonna share this with you, and I'm gonna let you finish. My bad. I'm full Kanye moment right now. But I will tell people, I will cry and still outlift you. I don't care. I'll cry and still put the boxing gloves on with you while we doing it. Because I just want you to know that you don't have to hold everything in. You can let it go and still show up as a man, as the man that you desire to be. Because it don't look the same for everybody.
And that's key. I was saying this recently, that oftentimes we try to find black and white answers for great issues. We try to find black and white answers for great issues. Either you're okay or you're not. I'm a little bit of both.
Yep.
Right? I'm a little hurt right now, but I'm still strong. Right? I'm a little down right now, but my future's still bright.
Yep.
Like, it doesn't have to be either or. It can very much be and. And I think a lot of times if we don't try to put ourselves in a box, we don't limit what we can do or who we should talk to or how we should feel, and just feel and just be okay with the gray, then I think that is the difference between going from good to great.
For sure. So what is 14-year-old Craig the most proud of?
14-year-old Craig is, I think, most proud of the fact that the 14-year-old version of my daughter is in a healthier place than I was in.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't have asked for a better answer.
Yeah.
Oh man. So where can people find you? What are you working on? All of that. Why don't you give me that?
Yeah, I would say that one of my life stories has already been written. It's a children's book.
Dope.
It's called Be You, Little Sunflower. The overall premise is, man, a sunflower is not okay, not happy being a sunflower, because that rose, man, is getting all the attention. I'm talking about the Olympics just happened and rose petals are flying. And it's like, man, I wish I was a rose, right? How many times have we felt like somebody else's dreams and blessings look just a little bit more appetizing and appealing than what we were going through? And I want some of that.
Yep.
Not okay being couldn't be a rose no matter how hard it tried, couldn't be an ivy, a dandelion, a lily. And it took a series of events in the book to happen for it to realize that it was okay. It was special just the way it was. And for me, that is the reminder for kids and former kids, right? As former kids that like to rock shoes that say air on it and like to do whatever it takes to fit in, right? It's okay, and it's actually mandatory that we figure out who we are, embrace that, and become the best version of ourselves. So that book will be coming out later this year. I'm super excited about it. It's definitely like that legacy building type of thing for me. But yeah, I'm everywhere. CraigStokes.com, whether it's Craig Stokes on IG, Facebook. Is it Twitter anymore? I don't know.
I think it's X, but I still say Twitter, man.
Yeah.
Just like instead of AT&T, I say singular
Singular,
sometimes.
what's up? Okay. Bell South. All right.
Bell South.
He took it back. All right. Showing our age. Goodness gracious. All right. But yeah, man. Yeah, Craig Stokes everywhere online, man.
I love it. Craig, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Definitely been a pleasure talking to you, as I say every week. Remember, discipline equals freedom. And while manhood may not look the same for everyone, the core values of authenticity, discipline, and integrity remain universal. We are the disciplined man, and this is what real men think. Craig, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you so much.